with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and on X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 20 and change or show, a start, sort of late start to the show. Sorry, not sorry. That's just the way life works. It is a Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. And as the whiteboard tells you, yes, it is a Rocky Tuesday. We got about a minute or so before Rocky joins us. Just want to let you know what we have in store for you today. We have a straight off the Rome from Andrew. So going talking to New York Metropolitans and Juan Soto. We have to talk National Hockey League because the Eastern Conference Finals starts today. Carolina Hurricanes versus the Florida Panthers. I have a little bit of NBA if we have some time. If not, we push that to tomorrow. But the Western Conference Finals in the National Basketball Association starts tonight. And then we make a few picks on those aforementioned games. Get in on the action. It's super simple, okay? It is The Rome Show 1. That is The Rome Show, then the number 1. Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. You know the drill, all the social medias. And the mothership is 12OZ Sports. Anywhere you want to follow 12OZ Sports. We're going to get Rocky in here, and then we are going to make our rant on Juan Soto and talk a lot of hockey.
Now, inside the glass, hockey with Rocky.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Matthew Kachuk, and I run out all my baseballs, even if I think they're going over the green mounts there. What's up?
Oh, Matt, what's going on, man? How we doing on this Tuesday?
I'm doing great. I'm going back to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 years in a row.
I know it doesn't feel as if you are having, I don't feel the same as when you were live on show. But how does it feel to be back only 4 days later?
No, happy to be back. Definitely. There's nothing like being next to you, you know?
Listen, I appreciate that. There's nothing like it. I mean, the studio feels really big today.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I take up a lot of space.
Oh, it's great. All right, well, let me get into this real quick because you alluded to it on the intro, and it's something that I am interested in talking about because I read this story yesterday. I obviously watched a little bit of the game. The long and short of this is I don't really believe, Rocky, that this is necessarily a Juan Soto thing. I believe that this is a New York Mets fans, the media, maybe a little bit of what it looks like from the organization. But to me, this is just probably what you're going to get if you deal with having Juan Soto. The only problem is he's hitting 256 this year with like 6 homers and 20 RBIs instead of hitting 310 and being the best player in the league. I don't think the Mets have a Juan Soto problem. I think it is the media and all of the hoopla around it that is really making this feel like it is, quote unquote, a problem. Your thoughts?
There are anywhere between 5 to 15 baseball games every single day. There is one player who doesn't run out a ball in every single game. We
Correct.
have it's
Great point.
2024. We have gone way past this
2025,
argument.
by the way. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've even gone past the
2025.
year.
We've had this argument. There's someone every year, right? It's a big deal. The guy thought he hit a home run. He thought
Right.
he cleared the green monster. And the Mets aren't hitting with runners in scoring position. So
Correct.
let's be serious. And by the way, they're still 4th in the league, and Juan Soto has walked 37 times at the plate. So he leads the Mets in walks. And this is kind of my question to you. I mean, he's batting 246. He leads the Mets in walks. His on base percentage is second on the team, and he leads the team in runs. So people are looking at his average and his number of home runs, saying he's not pulling his weight, yet he's gone around the diamond more than anyone else on the team.
Which is a great point out of you. And what's funny about this situation about not running the ball out yesterday is that after he made the mistake of thinking it was a homer and then not running the ball out, he stole second base. So those things don't exist if you're a player that's not playing with a bunch of care. And I think it stems from a few days before the Mets are playing the Yankees. And according to reports on Sunday night, Juan Soto was supposed to be, I don't know if it was the mic'd up guy or what the case was, but he denied wanting to be mic'd up. And major reason why is because he didn't want to have to answer questions about leaving the Yankees or his friendship with Aaron Judge or whatever the case is. Then I guess after the loss on Sunday, he didn't speak to reporters. Now, normally, I'll probably crush a player or coach for doing this. Rock, in this scenario, I'm not, because I talked about it yesterday. I think it's embarrassing the way some of these fans treat this man. I think it's embarrassing that people spent their hard-earned hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go to the Bronx to make signs to tell him he's a loser for choosing the Mets. So do I blame Juan Soto for having a tough start to the year? No. Do I blame him for being in a weird mental space? No. I think we forget as New Yorkers specifically, but media members, people that are fans, we're doing this to people. Like, it's just because he makes 750 doesn't mean that all of a sudden he's the best player in the league. He's got to deal with his family. He's got to have mental struggles. Like, he's a human, Rock. So I think that's really where it stems from. I think it's a little bit less almost about like whether or not he was a hustler or not. I don't think that's the case. I think it's that it's a lot of frustrations built up into one. He finally takes a good swing, feels really good about it. It just happens to not go over the monster.
It just didn't make it over. He had too much wind gust coming in, and like, I gotta be honest with you, I don't want to talk to the media either. After for 3 straight days, I get booed as if like I'm like the worst human being in the world.
Right.
And quite frankly, like if you think that Juan Soto didn't tell the Yankees what he wanted, and the Yankees said, no, I'm not going to give you all of that. And then what, you didn't know Steve Cohen was across town?
Right.
He's been there for 5 years.
Correct.
I mean, it was very public. He wanted Juan Soto. I mean, they were talking about it before the season even ended. So it's like, you're sitting there, Yankees, Mr. I've spent the most money in the world to buy players my entire career, and you didn't spend enough money to get the player that you wanted.
And to
So
finish, I think it's funny that they get mad at people for choosing not the Yankees because we're the Yankees and we win championships. It's the greatest. It's like, dude, this
but
is
you
not
haven't won.
in 17 years and 18 years.
You
Like,
haven't,
this is not this
you
anymore.
haven't, you're losing the Yankees luster more than you're keeping it.
Yeah. Well, and I hate the Mets. And on the flip side, just so you're aware, I hate the Mets fan that's like, yeah, stuck. It's like, dude, shut up. Like, you both shut up.
Yes. No. What I'm see, the interesting thing with the Mets is that, when it comes to Soto and why I'm definitely more patient than some people is because Pete Alonso is batting 301
Right.
and he leads the team in RBIs and on base
Clearly
percentage.
works. Yeah. Yeah. That
And
protection in the lineup.
Lindor has slid right back into his leadoff spot, and he had a tough start, and now he leads the team in hits and home runs, and so you're sitting there and you're like, well, what he's done to the lineup is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
You've got young talent in Luis Angel Acuna who's really coming up and like putting pressure on people like Jeff McNeil, and I mean, I don't see how you're not thrilled with the lineup, and I'd much rather see a struggle now and let the guy get hot than, him come out the gates hot and us kind of stumble throughout the year with like all this talent, not knowing where to put it.
The last note on this before we get to hockey with Rocky, the New York Metropolitans are 29-19 right now. They are a half game back of the Phillies, who are 29-18 in the National League East with 120 games remaining. They have a plus 54 differential. The only concern I have about this team right now is when they travel, they are 2 games under 500 on the road. That always concerns me. And will the pitching staff hold up? Because I think against the Yankees, you saw a little bit of the, I mean, this is a good pitching staff. Maybe it's not the greatest pitching staff type idea. So those are my only two concerns, but they're sitting pretty right now at 29-19, and they haven't even played their best baseball yet. That's a good place to be.
Exactly. 3-1 to the Red Sox is when you don't hit with runners in scoring position compared to trying to make up 8 runs is just they're two completely different losses.
That's exactly right. You're listening to the Rome Show here on 12 OZ Sports. We broadcast live on YouTube and X. Make sure you follow us on both. You can comment live on the show. Rocky, we had a comment. Michael Carvelis writes in Maple Leafs. Well, actually, he wrote in hockey with Rocky fired up today. And then he writes in Maple Leafs fans are crying. Okay, well, now let's flip it to hockey because Carolina takes on Florida tonight in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I talked a little bit about the Maple Leafs losing yesterday. The floor is yours. Let's break it down.
It's funny. So here in Western New York, a lot of Maple Leaf comparison to the Buffalo Bills from the Bills fans, and really in regard to really great core, heading to the playoffs every year, but can't put it together in the big game to actually take it to the next step. Now, I think the Leafs are a little bit in a worse spot than the Bills, but in reality, like really no different. I mean, you've got your franchise quarterback, you've got your franchise captain, you've got the core around him. You've proven to win year over year. You've been able to change personnel in and out and still make it back. But for whatever reason, you're still not the team that can overcome Patrick Mahomes. You're still not the team that can get past the second round.
Great point.
So that those are some of the comparisons that I've heard. I think you're gonna see. I think it's time for Brendan Shanahan to go in Toronto. The Shana plan put the core together. Right.
That's
and he's
funny.
been there for a long time. They've been to the playoffs every year.
And they're
but
solid, right? They just can't win.
They are solid, but they're not tough.
Okay.
They're not tough to play against. I mean, you go to your last 2 home games of the season, you lose 11-2.
Yeah.
And
in the postseason.
And no push. You're playing the most physical team in the league.
Yeah.
And you've got nothing there.
On home ice, game 7. Yeah, now that you say that out loud, Rocky, it's almost worse than what I thought originally.
So did a deep dive into the Leafs.
Okay.
And so their top 4 guys are making 10 to 13 and a half a year, right? So that's William Nylander, that's Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares. Now, Tavares' contract is up. He's going to, everyone thinks he'll re-sign, but it'll be less than 5 because he's, 30 whatever years old, right? Mitch Marner's probably not going to be back. But if you look at this team, the next highest paid player was $3 million a year. They're missing B+. Like there is no Daniel Murphy. Like there's no you don't have where you need go get 3 $6 million guys.
Yeah, right.
And go bolster your mid-range, right? Like you can't even talk about their fourth line. Like they don't have any mid-range talent that is driving the team. I mean, you look at the Panthers, the Sasha Barkov Kachuk line didn't really score. It was the second line that scored all their goals. I mean, the Brad Marchand line, and you're sitting there that's depth.
Yeah.
That's what depth looks like. And so they don't have, yes, they've got that core 4, but they've got no depth. I mean, their best defenseman. I mean, where were they? Morgan Riley. I don't know if he was on the ice. I would argue their lowest paid defenseman, McCabe, was the most notable. So I think their depth is lacking from a middle standpoint. And at some point, the Rangers pay Igor Shesterkin the highest money in the league. Sergei Bobrovsky gets paid the highest money in the league. I mean, your goalie makes $3 million a year.
Yeah. Well, and that's to your point
He's
about
making the same as a fourth liner.
And if your goalie was a B+ goalie instead of a C goalie, there you go, right there. There's a difference.
And I'm just looking at money. I'm not looking at talent. Right.
That makes plenty of sense, though, because if you want to build a roster, right, it's like when we talk about football. Why would you say you want to have a good quarterback and a good running game, but you don't draft anybody on the offensive line? That's just an illogical thought process. It's the same thing here. And it's funny because I always think about it this way. if your first line in hockey's A plus talent wise, your second line's B plus talent wise, your third line C plus talent wise, but your third line's A plus grittiness, your two line is B plus grittiness. So your two lines, the jack of all trades, masters of none. They should be able to score 50 a year, but also assist on 50 a year, have 50 penalty minutes. You know what I'm saying? And then your A line, we just need a little toughness. Like you need a little Alexander Ovechkin toughness in some of your best players. And if you have three lines like that, and then a fourth line that's just like go get them, balls to the walls, that to me is a complete four-line team.
And what you see in Florida and Carolina is that you're going to see two teams that have the equivalent toughness from first to fourth line, right? Whether you're on first line in Florida or you're on the fourth line in Florida, you're banging bodies on the forecheck. Like everyone does it. And it's the same with Carolina. The difference is the sexiness, the flashiness of the play, and like the loudness of the play. And that's what we saw 2 years ago when these two teams met in the Eastern Conference Final. Florida dismantles Carolina in 4 games, but they were all 1 goal games, right? So the challenge for Carolina is going to be not only to like, meet fire with fire, but they're going to have to stymie more than just the top line. They're going to have to stymie the entire lineup. They're going to have to keep these games. I want to say like they got to keep Florida below like the 2 goal limit, and you probably got to score 4 in order to beat Florida because they're never going to go away. But this is the dragon that Rob Rindamore and the Carolina Hurricanes need to slay because they've been here now. They've been a top team in the East for a few years. I mean, I think the same way Florida needed to get off, or Toronto needed to beat them to be considered great. Like Carolina, I mean, you're pretty much like, in a way, if you were in Toronto as Carolina, it'd be worse. It'd be just as bad for you. But you're in Carolina, so everyone celebrates you.
That's hilarious. And that's such a good point. I got some stats for you here, starting with the Carolina Hurricanes. Okay. If you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, all right, they've only lost twice in this postseason. Okay. They are 8-2. In the last 9 games, they've given up 2 or less goals. They've given up 6, or they've given up 1 or less goals 6 times this postseason, and they have 1 shutout. Okay. They also have 8 games this postseason with 3+ goals, Rocky. They're averaging 3.4 goals per game. So defensively, they come into this series arguably the best they've looked in a minute.
Best, yeah, and Frederick Anderson leads the playoffs in goaltending right now. So not only is it team defense, but their goaltender has been the best goalie throughout these playoffs. But you're meeting arguably the best goaltender of the last 3 playoffs in Sergei Bobrovsky.
Right.
And so the matchup from top down depth, physical play. I'm still in the show. Everyone can see and hear you, but I don't see Andrew. So if you can hear me, I'm going to keep going. Let Andrew kind of sort this thing out. Oh, he's back. All right, good deal. So, I love the Eastern Conference Final. I think it's very two evenly matched teams, goaltending wise, all the way through the middle of the lineup. And I think that series goes 6, no, probably 7. And now that I'm here in the final, and I've realized that analytical statistics picking and trying to be good doesn't work. I'm going to cheer for the Carolina Hurricanes to advance to the Stanley Cup final.
Okay. All right. I have and on the flip side, I had some other stats for you here too, by the way, but I cut myself off the stream, but we're back. We're here. Just a few technical difficulties. The Panthers, Rocky, in their last 5 games against the Maple Leafs, averaged 5.1 goals per game. And for that series, averaged 3.7 goals per game. That is the type of offense that they can be. And I think that is the juggernaut that Carolina is seeing.
I think in all 3 losses versus the Leafs this series, they scored less than 2 goals.
That is correct.
And again, so meeting up against Freddie Anderson, Carolina, like you've got a chance to dismantle this team. You're going to have to do it methodically, and you're going to have to do it in a way that keeps the game close. But at some point, you will have to break the game open because if you let Florida stick around with too many chances, they'll make you pay.
That's a great point. All right, Rock, we're going to take this thing till 7:40 here since we started a little bit later today. So I'd love for you to give me,
The West
um,
Coast.
yes, sir. Go get him, Tiger.
I found out a crazy stat getting prepared for the Western Conference Final
I'm excited
conversation
about this
today.
one, by the way.
This is where you're gonna have the defense. I mean, listen, you're gonna have a lot of goals, but like where you're gonna have defense and toughness reign in the East, you're gonna have goals reigning in the West.
It's like the offensive showdown of showdowns.
I think I totally and um so what I found out is that over the last since 2019, okay, there have only been four teams that have been in the Western Conference Final. Only four teams. The same four teams over the last since 2019.
Edmonton Oilers,
Yep.
the Los Angeles Kings.
No.
I mean, that was a good guess, though, but I guess that
No, it
would be
wasn't.
more.
Edmonton's
Okay.
eliminated the Kings 4 years in a row in the first round.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Okay. All right. The Vegas Golden Knights,
Vegas.
the Edmonton Oilers, the
Yep.
Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
Those are three, right?
Yeah. And when we haven't mentioned the
And
team that's
St.
playing
Louis
this year.
Blues. Oh,
No,
no.
the team
The
that's
Dallas
playing this
Stars.
year.
No,
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
stupid. But didn't the Blues win the Stanley Cup?
In 2019.
Oh, so it's after 2019. That's what threw
After
me off. Got it.
2019.
Wow,
So,
that's crazy.
and guess who has head coached in all of those years except one?
Let me guess. It's the guy that's doing the Dallas Stars right now.
Yeah, Pete DeBoer.
Yeah, my guy from that
So
the
this is the
Devils never
third.
got rid of, according to it.
This guy, so this guy has taken I mean, this is a rematch from last year. So you have
Mhm.
three of the four teams
Wow.
in the Western Eastern Conference Final that were here last year.
It doesn't even feel like that. That's why hockey's so impressive.
It's craziness. It is crazy. Edmonton, Dallas. This is a rematch from last year. Went 6 games. You had Dallas lose to Vegas.
Mhm.
Colorado was in there, and that's it. And so it's which is just fascinating to me. The Dallas team, similar. Dallas finds themselves in the same place Carolina does. You got to slay the dragon, like
Right.
because Dallas is now Toronto of the West Coast, right?
Right.
Again, and if Dallas was in Toronto, they'd be getting crushed.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed. Except it wouldn't be about the first and second round. It'd be about they can't get out of the Western Conference Final.
Correct. It's a great point. It's a
Connor
really good point.
McDavid is Canada's only hope.
It's wild.
We went from 5 teams, 5 chances for Canada to 1.
But how much different do you look at Connor McDavid's career now when you're watching Austin Matthews in Toronto not even be able to get to the Stanley Cup Finals or the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, listen, Austin Matthews has completely lost his luster because he can't play big in big games. And and if you look at his stats compared to where Patrick Kane was, I mean, there's no question on who the best American hockey player of all time is. I mean, it's just
Great point.
incredible.
Yeah.
Now in the West, Dallas, Edmonton, I would like to cheer for Dallas. I would like to, but I actually am leaning towards Edmonton returning to the Stanley Cup final. I think based on how it looks now, and based on the way if Stuart Skinner can play the same way he played versus Vegas, after he came back, after he got bounced by Cal Picard and he came back into the lineup, I think that Edmonton can make their way into the final and actually like I'm leaning to right now, I would argue Edmonton might be my Stanley Cup favorite, even over the Panthers.
They have scored nearly 4 goals a game, Rocky, in the
Yes.
postseason. Like, that's ridiculous.
You got past Darcy Kemper, Vezina Trophy candidate. You got past Aiden Hill, former Stanley Cup champion. And now you have to go get past Jake Ottinger, the second best goaltender in the United States of America.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. You look at 3 of the top 4 goalies remaining in the postseason are all in the Eastern Conference Final. It goes back to your
But-
earlier point about the level of the Leafs, spending money and how important the goaltender is.
And I think what you are also seeing on display for those not hockey fans, go look at the top 8 teams in the regular season and go look at how none of them are in the last 4.
Right.
and look at how these teams continue to be here. The consistency in the final is what showcases what your team needs to be to win in the NHL.
Yeah, it's a great point. If you look at the Eastern Conference standings, okay, I just pull up the wild card one because that gives you like, I mean, you got Florida's the third wild card, Carolina's the second wild card. Like you're looking at Dallas, they were number 2 in the Central. Edmonton was number 3 in the Central. None of these teams that are finishing with the quote unquote most points in the regular season. I mean, Florida was 10 points less than Toronto during the regular season. They had
Yeah.
5 less wins. The differential was an 8-point difference, but it didn't matter. Didn't matter when it mattered the most, you know?
No, because the regular season is a test.
Yeah.
It's a test. That's
It's a
it.
great
That's all
point.
it is. It's just, are you prepared for what's
Yeah.
about to happen to you?
Yeah. And sometimes you could be too prepared in the moments when it matters least. I think that's the other problem too there.
So I'm going to take Edmonton, Carolina here in the final.
All right. So you have Edmonton beating Dallas in how many games?
6.
And you have Carolina beating Florida in 6 as well.
I'm going to go 7 in that one.
Okay. All right. All right. So it is Edmonton versus Florida for you. Okay.
Yes.
I
No,
like
Edmonton versus Carolina.
Edmonton versus Carolina. Okay.
Yes.
I am taking Edmonton versus Dallas. I mean,
Well,
versus
yeah, that's who that's just playing.
no, Dallas, excuse me, versus Carolina. I meant not to say Edmonton. Though I think that the Oilers and that group of core really deserve something and should and are and could be, right? I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where I think I would really enjoy a team from Texas winning the Stanley Cup. And it's one of those things where I think if I rank the 4 final teams remaining as an average hockey person or a picker of hockey, everyone's going to think Dallas last on this list, and there's no reason for that. When if you look at their talent, their coaching, as you mentioned, their goaltending, as you mentioned, they're equally as good as all of these teams. So give me Dallas, give me Carolina.
I like it. I listen. I'm leaning that way too. I feel for whatever reason, I'm like, I love Chris Knobloch, the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, and like I want,
Knobloch.
like for whatever reason, I want McDavid to win one.
I would like it too. Listen, it's McDavid
But I
feels the
also
same
want
way.
Jamie Benn to win one. I also want Jamie
Right.
Benn to
It's
win
like
one too.
it's
So
a tough
I'm like kind of
conundrum.
Yeah.
That's the problem. What I think a good problem that hockey has right now is no matter what point of the year, you're watching a lot of really good talent.
No doubt.
All right.
No.
Edmonton versus Carolina. Locked in, Rock. It's been written on the paper, so it's locked in.
There it goes. Yeah. My original Final Four is disastrous. So
Yeah. We're not even gonna talk about it. We're just gonna move on. All right, final thoughts, man.
if you are wondering about why hockey is such a tight-knit community and why it really is for the people who just kind of know and love the sport and why there's almost more of a cultish following than like, there's not really a middle ground. There's not really casual fans. It's because of what you saw happen with Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. Unfortunately, his father passes away prior to Game 6 versus Dallas the other night. And he decides to play in the game. He scores the first goal, unfortunately takes a penalty at the end of the game and is sitting in the box when Dallas scores the game-winning goal to win the series, go to the conference final. And the outreach from not only his teammates, but from opposing teammates, especially Captain Jamie Benn from Dallas, who had sucker punched him in the face, got fined for that sucker punch. First person to skate over from Dallas to Mark Scheifele to give him a hug and talk him through it. But I just think what you saw, the support and the love, and then ultimately the warriorship out of Scheifele, I think it's hard pressed not to like be, hey, that if you were a hockey player and you wanted to say, if someone said, hey, what's hockey about? I think in that instance, you could showcase those clips and like kind of tell the whole story. So that is my closing thought today.
And I'd like to add something to that closing thought. Look no further than the Goudreau brothers situation and the response of the National Hockey League on that. And then look no further than when any playoff series ends, look what happens on the ice in hockey. That's not what goes on in any other sport. They actually take a second to shake each other's hands, go through what we call the little league handshake line, and show respect to each other. You're right. And you don't have to look further than any of the examples we've seen in the last 365 days to realize why the sports community in hockey is so special.
Yeah, very, very much like if you're watching like a Greek historical, and like you have two warriors who like shake hands by the wrist,
Yeah.
like in honor, but they're about to go kill each other.
Yeah.
Um, like that's kind of what this is like, is the best example
great
I got
point.
for you.
That's why
So.
it could be the best sport in the world. Start watching it. And if you're not watching it, at least tune in every Tuesday so you can learn a little bit about it on Hockey with Rocky. Rocky, thank you so much. And thank you for handling the delays today. We appreciate you.
Listen, we can perform under any circumstance. Big
Right,
time
Gumby.
players play big in big games. Let's go.
That's who
Run
you
out the
are.
ball, Soto.
Even if it's off the green monster. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a blast with you. We hope you've had a blast with us. Let me find my exit music and we can get out of here. Andrew Romanella, that was Rocky Romanella. This is The Road Show here on 12OZ Sports. We're back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And until then, you have an electric Tuesday. I'm just going to say peace.
Thank you for listening.